Buffalo Bills last won the AFC East in 1995.
Whoa.
Let's think about that. 1995. Bill Clinton was in the third year of his first term. Coach Sean McDermott was playing safety at William & Mary. Seinfeld and Friends were on their original run on NBC. Tom Brady was a freshman at Michigan. And Josh Allen, the Bills quarterback, he didn't exist. He wasn't born. He wasn't alive in 1995. That's how long ago it was for the Buffalo Bills to win the division. So as we work our way up the PFT preseason power rankings from 32 to 1, we're at number 9 in the top 10 for the first time in a very long time. The Buffalo Bills, they deserve their placement, Chris. I think you agree with me on that. The question is, can they take this potential that they have and turn it into a division title for the first time in 25 years?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But, the Buffalo Bills are, a team that and an organization that is on a rise. They really are. And they're a team that I think is building something very special there to be reckoned with in the AFC and in the AFC East. Yeah, it's there for them to win it this year. That's the first time in forever. Yeah, no Brady. There's some other issues on the Patriots roster, all of that. The Buffalo Bills, they were very close to being better than the Patriots last year, and they improved their team once again this offseason. I don't know, Mike. I look at the Buffalo roster and really just sit here and go, damn, tell me the weak spot. I don't know. There's really not one to be had other than maybe corner and lack of depth there. We saw Josh Norman, pulled his hamstring or has a soft tissue thing. They lost Star Lotulelei, right? I believe because he opted out because of COVID.
Yes.
So that was big, but they have lots of defensive linemen. I just look at the roster and think, man, Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, they've really orchestrated something really special and strong there. And they've created a culture and everything that you like to where I think Buffalo is going to be very legit this year and legit for the next few years.
Yeah, and look, the opportunity is there, at least until they signed Cam Newton in New England. But still, there's that transition, that sense that maybe this is a chance for someone to break the New England stranglehold on the division. They've won it every year since 2008, really every year since 2003, with the exception of 2008 when Tom Brady tore an ACL Week 1, and the Dolphins managed to steal the division title. The Patriots were 11-5 that year and still somehow didn't make the playoffs.
Right.
They would this year under the 7-team expansion that they now have in both conferences. But what do the Bills, nuts and bolts need to do to overcome the Patriots? Where do you see the push coming from? Is it a defensive thing? Is it an offensive thing? Is it Josh Allen finally fulfilling what you've seen in him since before he was drafted? What is it specifically going to take to make it happen?
To me, it is the offense going maybe to that, next level as far as, they've played a game the last 2 years where, they've managed Josh Allen a little bit. They play through their defense. They take a few aggressive shots down the field here and there, maybe run him, but want to run the ball and play that way. And, we saw he did a lot of highlight reel, exciting things his rookie year. Last year, played the position more clean. Definitely wasn't as reckless with the football. Certainly showed some improvement with accuracy. But now where I'm excited, and to me this is where the next step is, Mike, year 2 in the Brian Daboll system, that New England scheme, we've talked about it already on the show. It's not easy. It's complicated. Between that and everybody there being used to it, the offensive line with some young studs on there, and now Stefon Diggs into the mix with Cole Beasley and John Brown, and Dawson Knox, who's a really damn good tight end that looks like he's got a bright future in the NFL, you start to go, wait, this might be a team this year where they don't have to play through their defense and manage Josh Allen and run the ball. They might be able to go on a certain week, go, you know what? We're clearly better than this team on the offensive side of the ball. Let's put the pedal to the metal. Let's not play a game to where, it's 20-17 and we got to sweat it out at the end. They might this year just go, damn, we trust Josh Allen. We got weapons. We're going to try to blow your butt out, and we're going to try to win by 30. And I think that's what's exciting to me is that they might have that aspect of them this year where they're not having to play, that game of managing him and the defense and all of that.
We've seen the Ravens throw caution to the wind with Lamar Jackson and let him run, have not just scrambles that are authorized, but designed run plays for him.
Yeah.
We've seen the Bills be more careful with Josh Allen. Remember last year we saw it coming in the playoffs when it's single elimination. They're not going to keep him in bubble wrap. They're going to tell him to go out there and run the ball. Should they do that all the time? Should they just use this guy to his full ability every week? And if he gets injured, that's why you have a backup. But you're not going to be as good as you can be if you don't embrace the full capabilities of your quarterback in Josh Allen.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I want them to embrace it and have the threat of that, but I don't want him running the ball too consistently on a week-to-week basis. I mean, we saw even in that game, in the wild card game against the Houston Texans, as that game went on and they ran him more and more, the defense got used to it. And this is where you go, well, the team's got to save the player a little bit because he's too tough and stubborn. And, he wanted to lower his head. He was taking on linebackers at the end of that game against the Houston Texans and refusing to go down. Plus, they have something special there, as far as potential at receiver and this offense and everything like that, to where, Allen has a chance to be a superstar. He has a chance to be the guy there for the next 10, 12 years, and I just wouldn't risk that with him. Not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, but I think he could be one of those guys that opens our eyes up a lot over the next 10 years about what he's doing on the field. So for the bigger picture of things, that's why I would say, no, save him. Those big moments when you called it last year in the wild card game, then you might unveil, a few tricks that you got up your sleeve as far as him running the ball and game plan design runs.
Backup quarterbacks on the roster currently: Matt Barkley, Jake Fromm, and Davis Webb. Surely at least one of them will be gone before the season begins, likely Webb. A quick fill in the blank, if Josh Allen misses any significant time due to injury, their season is what?
Ooh, I mean, in the balance. It's not over because the defense is too damn good. And then I think between Singletary and then their second or third round pick, Zach Moss from Utah, who I loved, I just think they'll even if Allen went down, they're not going to be as fun to watch on offense and explosive. But I think between their O-line and being able to run the football, they'll play a style of football we just saw them play last year and the year before, where, a few shots here and there, but we're going to play through our defense and run the ball to where they won't be as good, but I still think they can be a pain in the butt and be very competitive that way, even with a Matt Barkley if he had to come in.
I'm hesitant to even mention this because I'll be accused of creating a jinx by even saying it.
Don't do it to my boy.
I'm not going to do it.
Okay, good. Look at this. He didn't do it. I cannot believe it. Woo! Yes, don't jinx my boy, Blue.
I'm just trying to wonder aloud at what point they would look outside for an upgrade over Matt freaking Barkley. That's my question.
I hear you. Yeah, you're right. He's an unproven commodity. Now, the one thing they'll be able to look at is guy played a lot of college football, as we know, and even last year when he came in, and I can't remember exactly what that game was. I want to say it's New England when Josh Allen.
That's not a good sign.
Well, no, but he did some good things. He did. He showed he was capable of moving the offense and making a few throws and things like that too. So I would bet he has given them enough confidence to be that guy. But yeah, you're right. That's certainly risky. I mean, Josh Allen is a superstar type talent. I mean, we saw what he can do running the ball. We know he has an unreal arm. I mean, come on. We're talking about him and Mahomes having a throw-off. If that doesn't tell you what kind of arm the guy has, then I don't know what else does. I mean, nobody wants to, no one raises their hands and says, I'll challenge Patrick Mahomes to a throw-off. Nobody does that unless you know you have a howitzer for a right arm, and he does. So he has a chance to be a superstar, and I think they're building something really awesome there in Buffalo.
Yeah, I definitely think they need him for, at least 12 of the games if they're going to have any chance at getting to the postseason or, more importantly, at winning the division for the first time since 1995. Last year you said that the offense needs that star player, that go-to guy.
Yeah.
And it's been hard to really peg where Stefon Diggs fits because he's had the production, but he's kind of been lost in the shuffle in Minnesota. Dalvin Cook last year, Adam Thielen has kind of, stepped up and actually has a better contract than Stefon Diggs. At least he did before Diggs got his contract tweaked by the Bills. Is Diggs the star that they need to make that offense everything it can be?
I think he is. Yes, I do. Diggs is such a well-rounded wide receiver. That's where, to me, his greatness is. I know we've talked about it a little, but he's the kind of guy like we saw in the divisional playoff game who can burn somebody down the sidelines on a straight go route and say, see ya. and yet he can run those like Julian Edelman, Cole Beasley, over the middle, option route, jerk routes where you got to be on the same page as the quarterback and all that. He can do all of that too. So that's where it's really cool. And to me, that's what's cool about between, Beasley could be that slot guy, work the middle of the field, and then Diggs and John Brown can dabble in it, let alone be mismatch one-on-one nightmares outside because of their pure speed that way. And then when you have a quarterback that's got a big arm, and then, an offensive line and an offensive coordinator and a head coach that are willing to run the ball and be a little patient with that, man, I think it can just set itself up for some really big-time, exciting plays there in Buffalo this year.
A year ago, LaShawn McCoy was the starting running back in Buffalo. They dumped him in the final cutdown. Devin Singletary is the guy that they are hoping will really develop. But with Zach Moss, it is an indication that maybe they're going to share the load, or that maybe they have some reservation, or they just don't want to get themselves into a spot where they have one guy that generates the kind of numbers where you have to pay him a king's ransom to keep him around. But, the rest of the offense, again, once they start producing, then the names become stars. And whether or not they produce is going to hinge largely on the offensive line. How do you feel about the blockers who are available to Josh Allen and company?
Well, they got one of the best centers in football in Mitch Morse. So he's phenomenal, right? I like him. As far as their tackles are concerned, the guard, they drafted a Cody Ford a few years ago out of Oklahoma. He's a road grader, all right? So I like him. They just signed Deion Dawkins, who they drafted out of Pittsburgh a few years ago. They signed him to a long-term deal because they like him at left tackle. Quentin Spain, the guard. McDermott's, this is what he does. He built a big physical team. And, just as we start to look at, these teams in the top 10 and some of the teams we've gone through before, and we wonder what's successful about them, you just go, well, damn. They have a front seven on defense and an offensive line on that side of the ball where they don't lose battles. They don't even when they play the best defenses or offenses in football, the worst thing that happens to them is a stalemate. And there's a lot of, positives about stalemates. So I look at that offensive line and think it has a chance to be, I think it's cusp of top 10. And I think it could be one of those O-lines by like the end of the year. We would go, ooh, is this one of the 5 best offensive lines in football? I think it has that type of potential.
Yeah, most recently they picked up Brian Winters after he was abruptly cut by the Jets to save some cash and cap space. All right, defensively. 16.2 points per game allowed last year by the Buffalo Bills. Will they be better, worse, or the same this year?
I think they're going to be better. I do. I mean, this was the number 3 defense in football last year. I don't know about the points per game thing. That'll be, that's tough. But I think they're going to be every bit in that range, Mike, of top 2, 3, 4 defenses in all of football. You got a shutdown corner. You got an awesome safety duo. You've got an unbelievable linebacking duo in Edmonds and Milano. Then you got pass rushers, with Hughes and Ed Oliver and that bunch there to where, you just look at them across the board and you just go, man, there's nothing not to like. They got size, guys off the edge in Mario Addison. I mean, I think the defense is going to be special. I think it'll be one of the most dominant in football.
And in 3 years with Sean McDermott as the head coach, you can see on that graphic what they have done and where they have ranked. And they keep getting better, Chris. I think that's the key. How would you attack the Bills' defense? Where's the vulnerability if you were designing an offense?
It's not easy because McDermott is one of those guys, Mike, too, where it's game plan specific. It's not like, this is what we do and we're not going to change up and we're not going to mess up and we'll just play fast. No. McDermott is, to me, this is why he's one of the great minds of the sport. Some plays I go, I don't know what coverage this is, but I know all his guys have dropped into a zone exactly where the receivers are trying to get open. There's 7 guys over here and there's only 3 receivers. And to me, that's where he's a really special breakdown tendency type of head coach to where I can't give you an answer where you break it down. I don't know. It's not easy. To me, you'd have to – the one other corner is the question mark right now, opposite of Tre'Davious White. Levi Wallace, Josh Norman, when they have to play man-to-man or they don't have help of a safety, I'm attacking them until you show me that they can stop people.
Fun fact also that I hadn't previously realized, Sean McDermott sounds a lot like Phil Simms. And everyone else that Chris ever tries to impersonate. Best case, worst case, Buffalo Bills.
I mean, best case, AFC East champs, I think the Super Bowl, they could be in the Super Bowl. I wouldn't be I'll say it. They could win the Super Bowl. I think their team is there set up.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not betting money on it, okay? But I'm telling you, the best case with this team, the way it's set up, yes, I'm throwing out Super Bowl there for the Buffalo Bills. Worst case, like, it would have to take some sort of injury to a Josh Allen or something like that to where then I go, oh, they just missed out on the playoffs. They're 7-9 or something like that. I don't see them being, falling too far off.
There will be a spike in downloads of the Peacock app in Western New York today now that Chris has pegged the Bills, not just to get to the Super Bowl, which Bills fans remember all too well 4 years in a row, but to actually win the Super Bowl. That would be amazing. But, how many times have we seen a team that has just kind of been hanging around on the edge of contention, then all of a sudden they find the gas pedal, they become great, and we're like, yeah, you know what? We probably should have seen that coming.
That, right.
And if Josh Allen is going to fulfill his potential, if he's going to cement himself as the second-best quarterback from the class of 2018 behind Lamar Jackson, who knows? Maybe he could be every bit as good as Lamar Jackson now that he's getting experience and that he has the weapons that he needs to move the ball down the field.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.